The medical bay of the research station was quiet that morning. Dr. Tayman walked through the sliding doors and nodded to the staff. He had done this before. Every 5 years, all crew members had to get their genes scanned. It was a simple rule. Space radiation could change DNA, so the Galactic Concordance wanted to check everyone regularly. Researcher Vixtal stood by the large scanning machine. She was tall with a hard shell that gleamed under the lights. Her species looked like insects with 6 limbs and compound eyes that sparkled like crystals. She had been running these scans for 300 years. She knew what normal looked like. Dr. Tayman, she said through her translator device. Her real voice sounded like clicking and buzzing. Please lie down on the scanning bed. Tayman climbed onto the platform. The machine hummed to life around him. Blue light washed over his body as millions of sensors started reading his genetic code. It usually took about 10 minutes. He closed his eyes and waited. 3 minutes later, alarms started screaming. Tayman opened his eyes. Red lights flashed across the ceiling. Vixtal was staring at her screen, her antennae twitching rapidly. That meant she was upset or confused. Maybe both. What's wrong? Tayman asked. Vixtal didn't answer right away. She touched her screen several times, her clawed fingers moving fast. Then she stopped and looked at him. Her translator device made a sound like she was trying to breathe but couldn't. The scan terminated, she said. The machine detected active self-replication in your cells. Tayman sat up. Oh, that. Yeah, that happens. That happens. Vixtal's voice went higher. Doctor, self-replication is a critical error. It means your cells are dividing uncontrollably. This is how cancers begin. This is how parasites spread. How are you this calm? Tayman scratched his head. Because it's normal. Human cells divide all the time. That's just what they do. Vixtal stepped back from him like he might explode. All the time? Your cells divide all the time? Sure, skin cells replace themselves every few weeks. Blood cells last a few months. Even bone cells get replaced eventually. The body is always making new cells to replace old ones. The researcher's antennae went completely flat against her head. That was her species' version of extreme shock. She touched her communicator. Overseer Com, please come to Medical Bay immediately. We have a biological emergency. It's not an emergency, Tayman tried to explain, but Vixtal wasn't listening. Overseer Com arrived within minutes. He was amphibious with smooth blue skin that always looked wet. His large eyes could look in 2 directions at once. Right now, both eyes were focused on the scanner display. Explain this, Com said in his deep, gurgling voice. Vixtal pointed at the screen. The human cells are replicating continuously. Look at this data. Millions of cells are dividing right now as we speak. In his skin, his blood, his digestive system, the entire body is in a constant state of cellular reproduction. Com's throat sac inflated with concern. Dr. Tayman, are you ill? No, sir. I feel fine. But your cells are multiplying out of control. Tayman slid off the scanning bed. Not out of control. Under control. It's regulated. My body knows how many cells it needs and makes exactly that many. When old cells die, new ones replace them. It's been doing this since I was born. Vixtal made a sound like glass breaking. Since you were born? Your entire life, your body has been in this state. Well, yeah. All humans are like this. The 2 aliens looked at each other. Com's throat sac deflated and inflated 3 times. That meant he was thinking hard. All humans? Every single one. And this is normal for your species? Completely normal. Vixtal touched her screen again. This makes no sense. In my species, cells remain stable throughout our lives. They perform their functions without needing replacement. When a cell dies, we experience permanent loss of that function. If too many cells die, we die. Same for my people, Com added. Our cells are made once when we are young. They last our entire lives. The idea of continuous replacement is... He searched for the word. Horrifying. Tayman tried to understand their perspective. So if you cut yourself, the wound just stays open? We would need medical intervention, Vixtal said. Surgery to seal the wound. Artificial skin grafts. The damaged cells cannot be replaced naturally. But humans can replace them? We do it automatically. A small cut heals in a few days. The body makes new skin cells to fill the gap. Com's eyes swiveled to look at Tayman from 2 angles. How long does it take for all your cells to be replaced? Tayman thought about it. Depends on the cell type. Stomach lining cells last about 5 days. Red blood cells last 4 months. Bone cells take about 10 years. But yeah, give it enough time, and almost every cell in my body gets replaced. So you are not the same physical being you were 10 years ago? Fixtel asked quietly. I guess not, if you want to be technical about it. Same person, different cells. The researcher sat down heavily. Her species didn't normally sit, but she seemed to need to. This changes everything. When humans joined the Concordance 50 years ago, we scanned you. We cataloged your genetics, but we never understood this. We thought the cellular activity we detected was a waste disposal system. We didn't realize it was a feature. You thought our regeneration was garbage removal? Taemin almost laughed, but the aliens looked too serious. Com turned to Vixtel. We need to review all human biological data immediately. If we misunderstood something this fundamental, what else did we miss? I will assemble a research team, Vixtel said. We need to run proper scans on all human crew members. With their permission, of course. You have mine, Taemin offered. I want to help. Though I should warn you, the more you learn about human biology, the weirder it's going to get. Weirder than constant self-replication? Com asked. Oh yeah, way weirder. The overseer's throat sac inflated and stayed inflated. I need to inform the Concordance Council. They should know about this. As the two aliens began making urgent calls and reviewing data, Taemin left the medical bay. He felt fine. His body was doing exactly what it was supposed to do. His cells were dividing, replacing, regenerating. As always. He wondered if he should have mentioned the immune system, or the wound healing, or the fever response. There was a lot about human biology that seemed normal to him but might seem terrifying. To aliens who didn't regenerate, maybe. He should have read the xenobiology reports more carefully before joining the station. But then again, who reads the fine print? Behind him, through the medical bay doors, he could hear Vixtel's voice rising in pitch as she discovered something new in the human genetic files. He smiled and kept walking. This was going to be an interesting week. Vixtel didn't sleep that night. Her species only needed rest once every 10 days, and she was too disturbed by what she'd learned to stop working. She sat in the research archives, surrounded by floating screens that displayed human genetic data. The more she read, the less sense it made. By morning, she had assembled a team. Dr. Hyojun was a human medical doctor who worked in the station's clinic. Technician Prill was a crystalline being whose body was made of living silicon. Her species was famous for seeing patterns that others missed. Xenobiologist Thurn was a reptilian with scales that changed color based on his mood. Right now they were dark purple, which meant he was skeptical. You called us here because human cells divide? Thurn asked. That seems like a small thing. It's not small, Vixtel insisted. It's fundamental. We've been treating humans like any other concordant species, but they're not. Their biology is completely different from anything we've cataloged. Dr. Hyojun leaned against the wall with his arms crossed. I could have told you that. You just needed to ask. We did ask, Vixtel said. 50 years ago when humans first joined, we did full biological surveys. And what did those surveys focus on? Hyojun asked. Vixtel pulled up the old files. Respiratory system compatibility, dietary requirements, gravity tolerance, atmospheric needs, temperature range. Practical stuff for living on stations. Hyojun nodded. But not the deeper biology, not how our bodies actually work on a cellular level. Prill's crystalline body chimed softly, which was how she showed interest. What exactly are we looking for? Everything, Vixtel said. I want to understand human biology from the ground up. Let's start with testing. We need volunteers. Within an hour, they had 17 human volunteers. The entire human crew of the station wanted to help. They seemed excited, which Vixtel found strange. If someone told her that her biology was terrifying and needed investigation, she wouldn't be excited. She would be concerned. But humans were different. The first test subject was Da-Eun, an engineer who maintained the station's power systems. She sat on the examination table while Vixtel prepared the scanning equipment. We're going to do a series of non-invasive tests, Vixtel explained. Just simple scans and observations. Nothing that will hurt. Sure, no problem, Da-Eun said cheerfully. Thurn was calibrating a sensor when Da-Eun reached for a tool on the tray. The sharp edge caught her palm and sliced it open. Blood welled up immediately, bright red against her brown skin. Thurn's scales flashed bright yellow in alarm. Medical emergency! She's hemorrhaging! Da-Eun looked at her hand calmly. Oh, it's just a cut. Can someone get me a bandage? Just a cut? Thurn stared at the wound. Your circulatory fluid is leaking. Dr. Hyojun was already moving. He grabbed a first aid kit, pulled out an antiseptic wipe, and cleaned the wound. Daeun winced but didn't cry out. Hyojun pressed gauze against the cut and wrapped it with medical tape. There, you'll be fine, he said. I know, Daeun replied. It'll stop bleeding in a few minutes. Vixtal watched in fascination. The blood was already slowing. How is it stopping? Platelets, Hyojun explained. They're cells in the blood that clump together when there's an injury. They form a plug that seals the wound. Then other proteins create a mesh that hardens into a scab. A scab? Prill asked. A temporary seal. It protects the wound while new skin grows underneath. Takes about a week for a cut like this to heal completely. Completely? Vixtal couldn't believe it. The skin will fully regenerate. Yep, she might have a tiny scar, but probably not even that. It's a clean cut. Thurn's scales were now bright orange, which meant confusion mixed with fear. In my species, such a wound would require surgical closure and synthetic skin grafts. Even then, the scar would be permanent and the skin would be weaker forever. Human skin regenerates stronger, Hyojun said. The body overcompensates. That's why scar tissue is actually tougher than normal skin. Vixtal added this to her notes with trembling claws. What else can regenerate? Most soft tissues, Hyojun said. Skin, muscle, organs to some degree. Even bones. Bones? Prill's chime went sharp with disbelief. If you break a bone, the body grows new bone tissue to fuse it back together. Takes a few months, but it works. Sometimes the healed bone is stronger than it was before the break. The research team looked at each other. This was beyond anything they'd imagined. Over the next few days, they ran more tests. Each one revealed something new and disturbing. They learned about the immune system when crew member Jae-hwan caught a cold. His body temperature rose to 39 degrees Celsius. The medical staff panicked, thinking he had a fatal fever. But Jae-hwan just took some medicine, drank water, and rested. 3 days later, he was fine. You deliberately overheated yourself to kill the infection? Vixtal asked, amazed. My body did it automatically, Jae-hwan explained between sneezes. Fever helps the immune system work better. Most bacteria and viruses can't survive the higher temperature. But you can. It's uncomfortable, but yeah. Humans can handle body temperatures up to about 41 degrees before it gets dangerous. Thurn's scales turned pale green, which was his color for nausea. You cook yourselves from the inside to survive illness. I guess you could put it that way, Jae-hwan said. They studied archived medical records and found cases of humans surviving broken bones, torn muscles, concussions, and internal injuries, things that would be fatal or permanently crippling for most concordant species. The humans just healed and went back to work. Dr. Hyojun mentioned casually that he'd broken his leg as a child. Fell out of a tree, he said. Had to wear a cast for 6 weeks. Leg healed perfectly. Can't even tell which one it was now. Vixtal felt something like despair. In her species, a broken leg would mean amputation and a cybernetic replacement. There was no healing. There was only repair through technology. But humans healed naturally. Technician Prill spent days analyzing the data. Her silicon brain processed patterns faster than organic minds. Finally, she called the team together. I found something in the old archives, she said. Her crystalline body glowed softly as she projected a holographic display. When humans first joined the concordance, they submitted full biological documentation. But look at how it was filed. The display showed the filing system. Human regeneration data was listed under metabolic waste management systems. Waste management? Vixtal read the label again. They thought cellular regeneration was garbage disposal? The original researchers didn't understand what they were seeing, Prill explained. They saw cells dying and being replaced. They assumed it was inefficient waste removal. They didn't realize it was the primary survival mechanism. So human biology has been misunderstood for 50 years? Thurn asked. Completely misunderstood, Prill confirmed. Dr. Hyojun laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. We tried to explain. I remember reading the first contact reports. Human doctors told the concordance researchers about regeneration, immune systems, wound healing, but the researchers didn't believe it. They thought we were exaggerating or mistranslating. Why would we think you were lying? Vixtal asked. Because it sounds impossible. If I told you there was a species that could regrow lost limbs, would you believe me? Some species can, Thurn said. Certain amphibians can regenerate limbs. Right, but those are rare. Most species can't. So when we told you that all humans can heal from major injuries, you didn't believe it because it seemed too good to be true? Vixtal felt a strange emotion. Shame, regret? Her species didn't have a word for it. We failed to understand you. It's okay, Hyojun said gently. Cross-species communication is hard. Things that seem normal to us seem impossible to you, and probably vice versa. What seems impossible about us? Prill asked. Well, Hyojun thought about it. Prill, you're made of living crystal. You don't have a brain like mine. Your entire body is your mind. That's incredible. In Vixtal, your species lives for thousands of years with the same cells you were born with. That's amazing. My cells would have copied themselves so many times by then that the errors would pile up. Humans can't live that long because our regeneration eventually breaks down. So regeneration has a cost, Thurn observed. Everything has a cost, Hyojun agreed. We heal fast, but we age fast too. You live longer with more fragile bodies. We live shorter with bodies that refuse to stay broken. Different strategies, same goal, survival. Vixtal added everything to her notes. The picture forming was both beautiful and terrifying. Humans were survivors. Their bodies were designed to take damage and repair it, to fight off disease, to adapt and overcome. But she still didn't know the limits. How much could a human body endure? How far could regeneration go? She was afraid to find out. But she knew she had to. Overseer Com stood at the head of the conference table and looked tired. His blue skin had lost some of its shine and his throat sac barely moved. The past week had been stressful for everyone. The conference chamber was full. Scientists from across the concordance had joined via quantum communication. Their holographic forms flickered around the table. Some were beings of energy. Others were underwater creatures in special tanks. A few were so alien that translation was barely possible. But they all had one thing in common right now. They were all worried about humans. Vixtal presented her findings. She showed the scans, the medical records, the test results. With each new piece of evidence, the council members reacted with visible distress. Councillor Vess was a gaseous being who lived in a contained field. Her voice came through speakers. You are describing an organism in constant transformation. How can humans be considered individuals if their physical composition completely changes over time? Dr. Taman stood up to answer. We're still ourselves. The pattern continues even when the material changes, like a flame that moves from one candle to another. Still the same flame, just different wax. That philosophy confuses me, Vess said. But my concern is more practical. What else have humans not told us? We told you everything, Timon said defensively. You just didn't believe us. Then let's try again, Com suggested. Dr. Hyojun, please explain human evolution. From the beginning. Hyojun activated a display showing Earth. The blue and green planet rotated slowly. Humans evolved on this world over millions of years. Earth is what we call a death world. Death world? One counselor asked. A planet with extreme conditions. Earth has violent weather, dangerous predators, toxic plants, deadly diseases, and dramatic climate changes. Humans evolved to survive all of it. Thurn leaned forward. How extreme are we talking? Earth's temperature ranges from -60 to +60 degrees Celsius depending on location and season. Humans can survive in almost all of it with minimal protection. The atmosphere is 21% oxygen, which is toxic to many species but necessary for us. Gravity is strong enough that most species need mechanical support to walk. Earth has 5 major extinction events in its history. Most species died. Our ancestors survived. The council was silent. Hyojun continued. To survive, humans developed redundancy. We have 2 kidneys but only need 1. 2 lungs but can survive with 1. Our skeleton can support 2 to 3 times our body weight. We have backup blood vessels. If one path gets blocked, blood finds another way. Vixtal added her own findings. I've also discovered that humans have what I call emergency systems. When threatened, their bodies flood with chemicals that enhance performance. Adrenaline increases strength, speeds reaction time, and reduces pain sensation. This allows humans to exceed their normal physical limits temporarily. How much stronger? Asked another counselor. Approximately 40% stronger than baseline. There are records of humans lifting vehicles to save others. Normally impossible, but adrenaline makes it possible. This is a combat adaptation, Counselor Vess observed. Humans evolved for warfare. Not just warfare, Hyojun corrected. Survival. Yes, humans fought each other. But we also fought nature. Predators, starvation, disease, our bodies adapted to keep us alive no matter what. Technician Prill projected a new analysis. I've been studying human lifespan. This is where things get interesting. Human cellular regeneration should theoretically allow lifespans of 200 years or more. But humans only live 80 to 100 years. Why? The copying process breaks down, Hyojun explained. Every time a cell divides, there's a tiny chance of error. Over decades, those errors accumulate. Eventually, the regeneration system starts making mistakes. That's aging. We regenerate so aggressively that we burn through our cellular lifespan faster. You live short, bright lives instead of long, dim ones, Prill said softly. Something like that. The conference took a break. During that time, crew member Bora stopped by to bring Hyojun some coffee. She was a botanist who studied alien plants. She smiled and handed him the cup. Thanks, Hyojun said. How's the garden doing? Great. I'm actually heading back to Earth next month. My sister is getting married and I want to see my family. Plus, I've been thinking about having kids now that my career is stable. She left before she saw Vixtal's reaction. The researcher grabbed Hyojun's arm. What did she just say? About her sister's wedding? About having children? She said now that her career is stable, and what does that mean? Oh, Hyojun realized what Vixtal was asking. Right. Humans can choose when to have children. Bora has been using birth control. Birth control? Methods to prevent pregnancy. Humans can reproduce any time we want, but we don't have to. We can delay it, prevent it, or choose the timing. Vixtal pulled Hyojun back to the conference chamber. Counselors, we need to reconvene immediately. I've discovered something new. When everyone was back, Vixtal explained what she'd learned. The reaction was even stronger than before. Humans can control their own reproduction? Vess asked. Consciously. Yes, Hyojun confirmed. We have several methods. Chemical, mechanical, surgical. We've been doing it for thousands of years in various forms. Most species reproduce based on environmental triggers, Thurn said. Season, temperature, resource availability. It's biological, automatic. You're saying humans override their biology? We work with it, Hyojun said. Human females are fertile in monthly cycles, but we can suppress or enhance that fertility through technology. We decide when and if we want children. This level of biological self-determination is unprecedented, Counselor Vess said. Humans can heal themselves, defend themselves, and control their own reproduction. What are your limits? We're still figuring that out, Taemin admitted. Another counselor spoke up. This one was a being that looked like floating jellyfish. I have studied your history. Humans reached space less than 1,000 years ago. Before that, you were confined to your planet. Yet in that short time, you've spread to 17 colony worlds and dozens of stations. You reproduce quickly and expand aggressively. This is concerning behavior. We're not aggressive, Taemin said. We're explorers. Exploration and expansion look the same from the outside. Hyojun stood up. May I share something? It might help you understand. Com nodded. Humans almost went extinct several times in our history. 70,000 years ago, a volcano erupted and nearly wiped us out. Global population dropped to maybe 10,000 individuals. We survived by spreading out, adapting, and refusing to give up. That's in our genes now. We expand because staying in one place feels dangerous. We explore because the unknown is less scary than being trapped. So you're running away? Vess asked. No, we're running toward something. The idea that there's more out there. More to see, more to learn, more to experience. That's why we joined the Concordance. Not to conquer, not to dominate, but to be part of something bigger than ourselves. Yet you don't need us, Vess pointed out. Your biology gives you incredible advantages. You could survive without the Concordance. Survive, yes, Taemin agreed. But surviving isn't the same as thriving. Humans are social. We need community. We need friends and allies. We're stronger together. The council debated for hours. The humans waited outside the chamber. Bora had returned and was confused about why everyone seemed upset. Did I say something wrong? She asked. You mentioned birth control, Hyojun explained. Apparently that's terrifying to species that can't control their reproduction. Oh, oops. Finally, the council called them back in. Counselor Vess spoke for the group. We have reached a preliminary decision. Humanity will remain in the Concordance, but we require a full biological review. Every aspect of human physiology must be documented properly. No more miscommunications. No more assumptions. We agree, Taemin said. Additionally, we want to understand human limits. What can your bodies endure? What breaks you? This information is necessary for proper safety protocols and medical treatment. We can arrange tests, Hyojun offered. Volunteers only, Com insisted. No human will be forced to participate. You'll have plenty of volunteers, Taemin said with a smile. Humans are curious. We like knowing our own limits. That is another concerning trait, Bess said. But we will work with it. This conference is adjourned. Research will begin immediately. As the holograms faded, the humans gathered together. They felt the weight of what had just happened. The Concordance was afraid of them, not because humans were cruel or violent, but because their biology was so different from everyone else's. They'll understand eventually, Bora said optimistically. I hope so, Vixtal said quietly. She had been listening from the back. Because the more I learn about humans, the more I realize how little we know. And that uncertainty is frightening. Hyojun put a hand on her shoulder. Hey, we're frightened too. Every species in the Concordance has abilities we don't have. Priel can process data faster than any computer. You can live for thousands of years. Com can breathe underwater. We all have our strengths. Humans just happen to be hard to kill. Very hard to kill, Vixtal corrected. That's what scares us. Then maybe, Hyojun suggested, you should stop thinking of us as scary and start thinking of us as durable friends. Vixtal's antennae twitched. That might have been... The experimental wing of the station was normally quiet. Today it was full of activity. Scientists from a dozen species gathered to watch tests that no one had attempted before. They were going to find the limits of human biology. 4 humans volunteered. Dr. Hyojun was there because he understood medicine. Young-ho was the station's best pilot. Min Seo was an engineer who liked solving problems. And Taemin volunteered because he started all of this with his medical scan. I want to be clear, Overseer Com announced to everyone. These tests are voluntary. Any human can stop at any time. We are not trying to harm anyone, we just need to understand. We know, Young-ho said with a grin. Besides, this sounds fun. Fun? Thurn's scales turned orange with confusion. You think stress testing your body is fun? Humans have a weird relationship with challenge, Min Seo explained. We like pushing boundaries, it's probably why we explore space. The first test was pressure tolerance. Young-ho entered a chamber that could simulate deep ocean conditions. The walls were reinforced crystal so everyone could watch. Vixtal operated the controls. We will increase pressure slowly. Tell us immediately if you feel pain. Got it, Young-ho gave a thumbs up. The chamber pressurized. Vixtal watched the readings climb. 10 atmospheres, 20, 30. At 40 atmospheres, Young-ho's expression changed. He looked uncomfortable. Status? Vixtal asked through the speaker. Ears hurt a bit, Young-ho said. Breathing feels heavy, but I'm okay. 50 atmospheres. Vixtal's claws trembled on the controls. This pressure would crush her species into paste, but Young-ho was still standing. His body had compressed slightly. Blood vessels showed through his skin as his cardiovascular system worked harder. This is impossible, whispered one of the watching scientists. At 55 atmospheres, Young-ho raised his hand. Okay, that's enough, getting hard to breathe. They brought the pressure down slowly. When Young-ho emerged from the chamber, he was sweating and tired but uninjured. How deep underwater was that? He asked. 500 meters, Priel calculated. Deeper than most Earth ocean zones. Huh. There are fish that live deeper than that on Earth. Yes, but you are not a fish, Vixtal said. You are a land mammal. You should have died. Young-ho shrugged. Humans are tougher than we look. The second test was acceleration force. Min Seo volunteered for this one. She climbed into a centrifuge that would spin her in circles, creating intense G-forces. Thurn explained the danger. My species can tolerate 4 Gs before internal organs rupture. Most concordant species are similar. We need to know human tolerance. Pilots on Earth train at high Gs, Min Seo said as they strapped her in. I've done this before, sort of. The centrifuge began spinning. 2 Gs. 3. 4. Min Seo grunted but stayed conscious. 5 Gs. 6. Her face distorted as the force pulled her skin back. Blood pooled in her lower body. 7 Gs. 8. Her breathing came in short gasps. Heart rate elevated but steady. Dr. Hyo-jun reported, watching the medical monitors. Blood pressure compensating. Her cardiovascular system is adapting in real time. 9 Gs. Min-seo's vision started to tunnel. Everything went gray at the edges. She raised her hand, and they stopped the spin. It took several minutes to bring the centrifuge to a safe stop. When they pulled Min-seo out, she was dizzy and disoriented. But within 10 minutes, she was walking normally. "I'm fine," she insisted, though she sat down heavily. "Just need water." "You tolerated 9 times normal gravity," Technician Prill said with something like awe. "That should have killed you." "It almost did," Min-seo admitted. "Another few seconds and I would have passed out. But I've heard of pilots surviving even higher Gs in emergencies." "Your species regularly experiences forces that would liquefy ours," Vixtal said quietly. The third test was radiation exposure. This was the most dangerous, and Dr. Taemin insisted on being the subject. "I understand radiation biology," he explained. "I'll know if something goes wrong." They placed him in a shielded room. The radiation source was carefully calibrated. They exposed him to levels equivalent to 3 months of deep space travel all at once. Alarms went off immediately. "DNA damage detected," Priel announced. "Strand breaks occurring across multiple chromosomes." "Stop the test," Com ordered. "No, wait," Taemin said calmly through the intercom. "This is expected. Watch what happens." They watched the cellular scans. The damaged DNA strands began repairing themselves. Enzymes moved along the genetic code, finding breaks and fixing them. It wasn't perfect. Some errors remained. But most of the damage was corrected within minutes. "Automatic DNA repair," Vixtal breathed. "Your cells can fix genetic damage." "To a point," Taemin said as they let him out. "Too much radiation overwhelms the system, but normal amounts? We handle it. Humans evolved under a star that produces radiation. We had to adapt." The fourth test was starvation tolerance. Dr. Hyo-jun fasted for 7 days while the team monitored him. The first day was easy. The second day he felt hungry but functional. By the third day his body had switched to backup energy systems. It started consuming stored fat. "He's eating himself," Thurn observed with his scales turning pale. "Metabolizing fat reserves," Hyo-jun corrected weakly. "It's what they're for. Humans store energy for lean times." By day 5, Hyo-jun moved slowly. His body was conserving energy, shutting down non-essential functions. By day 7, he was weak and tired, but still alive. "How long could you survive?" Vixtal asked. "Maybe 3 weeks without food," Hyo-jun said. "With water. Without water, only 3 days." Overseer Com's throat sac inflated and deflated rapidly. "My species would die within 3 days without food. You can last 3 weeks?" "Our ancestors faced famines regularly," Hyo-jun explained as he slowly ate some broth. "The ones who survived were those who could go longest without eating. Natural selection." That evening, the research team gathered in the observation lounge. The tests had shaken everyone. Vixtal spoke first. "Every system has backups. Every function has a survival mode. Humans are designed for disaster." "Not designed," Young-ho corrected gently. "Shaped by millions of years of barely surviving. Earth kept trying to kill us, and we kept refusing to die." Thurn's scales shifted through several colors before settling on dark blue. "You're not explorers who left a safe home. You're survivors who escaped a death trap." "Earth isn't a death trap," Min-seo said defensively. "It's beautiful." "It's both," Prill chimed. "Your planet is objectively dangerous by concordance standards. Extreme weather, tectonic activity, mass extinctions. Yet humans call it beautiful because you see challenge as opportunity." Taemin leaned back in his chair. "Maybe. Or maybe we just don't know any better. Earth is normal to us. This station feels safe and controlled. Sometimes too safe." "Too safe?" Com asked. Humans get restless in safety, Taman explained. We start looking for challenges. Sports, competitions, dangerous hobbies. We need to push ourselves. That is deeply concerning, Vixtal said. Technician Prill projected her analysis of all the test data. She had created a comparison chart showing humans versus other concordant species. In physical trauma recovery, humans ranked in the 99th percentile. Environmental adaptability, 98th percentile. Metabolic flexibility, 97th percentile. Pain tolerance, 96th percentile. But in sensory perception, humans were average. In natural weapons like claws or venom, below average. In individual strength relative to body size, below average. In speed, average. You're not the strongest or fastest, Prill concluded. You're the most persistent. You survive by refusing to quit. Persistence hunting, Hyojun said. That's how our ancestors hunted. We couldn't outrun prey, couldn't overpower it. So we just followed it. For hours, sometimes days, until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. Then we walked up and killed it. The alien stared. You exhausted your prey to death? Thurn asked. Still do in some cultures. Humans are endurance predators. Bora arrived with food for the team. She noticed everyone looked disturbed. What's wrong? We tested human limits today, Vixtal explained. It was educational and horrifying. Oh, fun. What did you learn? That humans are unkillable nightmare creatures who survive through sheer stubbornness. Bora laughed. Yeah, that sounds about right. An alarm interrupted the conversation. It was the emergency system. Comms communicator lit up with urgent messages. Mining accident, he said, his skin turning dark blue. Asteroid facility, structural collapse, 17 workers trapped including 8 humans. How long until oxygen runs out? Taemin asked, already standing. 4 hours, maybe less. Can we reach them? The tunnels are collapsed, too unstable for rescue. Concordance protocols declare it a recovery mission, not a rescue. The humans looked at each other. Young-Ho stood up. We should probably go get them. Did you not hear me? Com said. The protocols say it's impossible. The environment is unsurvivable. For most species, Minseo agreed. But we just spent all day proving that humans can survive impossible conditions. Taemin was already moving toward the door. With respect, Overseer, your protocols weren't written for us. The 4 humans left the lounge. Behind them, the aliens sat in stunned silence. Finally, Vixtal spoke. They're going to try to rescue those people, aren't they? Yes, Prill said simply. Even though it's probably suicide? Especially because of that, Thurn said, his scales showing a color none of them had seen before. The rescue shuttle launched within 20 minutes. 8 humans were aboard. Taemin, Young-Ho, Minseo, and Bora from the research station. Also Da and the engineer, Jae-Hwan from maintenance, and 2 security officers named Sung-Woo and Ji-Hai. Back on the station, the entire crew watched through video feeds. The control room was silent except for the sound of breathing and the occasional click of Vixtal's claws on her console. This is insane, Overseer Com muttered. The structural integrity is at 30%. One wrong move and the entire facility collapses. Then they better not make any wrong moves, Thurn said quietly. The shuttle docked at the asteroid facility's emergency port. The humans suited up in protective gear. Their helmets had cameras so everyone could watch. Young-Ho led the team through the first set of corridors. The walls were cracked. Emergency lights flickered. Somewhere in the distance, metal groaned under stress. Oxygen levels dropping, Dayun reported, reading her scanner. We have maybe 3.5 hours before the trapped workers suffocate. Then we work fast, Taemin said. They reached the first collapsed section. A pile of debris blocked the tunnel. The gap was too small for rescue equipment. Too unstable for heavy machinery. We'll have to move it by hand, Minseo said. By hand? Com's voice crackled through the comm. That debris weighs tons. Then it'll be heavy, Minseo replied. Everyone on 3. The 8 humans positioned themselves around a massive support beam. They counted down together. On 3, they lifted. Back in the control room, Prill was calculating the forces involved. Impossible. That beam weighs 400 kilograms. They cannot generate enough force, but they did. Muscles strained. Faces contorted with effort. Their bodies flooded with adrenaline, temporarily amplifying their strength. The beam shifted, moved, cleared the path. Emergency strength protocols, Dr. Hyojun explained to the watching aliens. Adrenaline allows humans to exceed normal limits when survival is at stake. But at what cost? Vixtel asked. Muscle damage mostly. They'll be sore for days, but they'll heal. The rescue team pushed deeper into the facility. The path became more dangerous. Toxic gases leaked from damaged systems. Sungwoo's oxygen mask cracked when debris struck his helmet. Mask compromised, he called out. Can you hold your breath? Taeyun asked, already moving to help. For how long? 3 minutes. That's how long I need to fix this. Sungwoo nodded and stopped breathing. 3 minutes without oxygen. Vixtal watched the timer tick down in horror. At 2 minutes, Sungwoo's face turned red. At 2.5 minutes, his eyes watered. At 2 minutes and 50 seconds, Da-Yun sealed the repair. Breathe, she ordered. Sungwoo gasped in air. His hands shook, but he was functional. Thanks. 3 minutes, Vixtal whispered. He held his breath for 3 minutes during emergency repairs. Free divers on Earth trained to hold their breath for 10 minutes, Hyojun said. Sungwoo could have lasted longer if needed. The rescue team reached another obstacle. A complete tunnel collapse. The only way forward was through a gap near the ceiling. It would require climbing in zero gravity while navigating sharp metal edges, Jihai volunteered. She pulled herself up through the gap. A jagged piece of metal caught her leg, tearing through her suit and into her calf. Blood bubbled out in the low pressure. Jihai is injured, Bora called. How bad? Taemin asked. Jihai looked at her leg. The wound was deep. Bone might be fractured. In the low gravity, blood drifted around her in red droplets. She pulled out an emergency medical kit, injected herself with nanites and a painkiller. I can keep going, she said. Your leg is fractured, Com protested through the comm. It's just pain, Jihai said, pulling herself through the gap. Pain is just information. I can ignore it. She continued forward, leaving a trail of blood drops floating in the air behind her. On the station, the alien crew watched in silent shock. She's going to permanent damage her leg, Vixtal said. Probably, Hyojun agreed. But in her mind, saving 17 people is worth one damaged leg, especially since it'll heal eventually. The rescue team found the trapped workers 30 minutes later. They were in a sealed chamber, huddled together. 9 aliens and 8 humans. The trapped humans had given their extra oxygen to the aliens who needed it more desperately. One of the trapped humans, an engineer named Hyunwoo, had a serious head injury. Blood matted his hair. His eyes didn't quite focus. Concussion, definitely. Maybe worse. Dr. Taemin examined him quickly. Can you hear me? Yeah, Hyunwoo slurred. Dizzy, though. You need medical attention after we get out. Your brain might be bleeding. Then let's move fast. Taemin wanted to argue, but there was no time. He improvised a pressure bandage using materials from his kit. Not ideal, but it would have to work. The rescue team organized the evacuation. They established a path through the damaged tunnels, marking safe zones. Young-ho led the aliens who were too weak and frightened to move quickly. The other humans carried equipment and supported the injured. They were halfway out when the facility shook. Another collapse. The entire structure was failing faster than predicted. Move faster, Young-ho ordered, but the aliens couldn't move faster. Their biology wasn't built for emergency speed. Minseo made a decision. Humans carry them. 1 alien per human. We can't carry people through zero gravity and damaged tunnels, Com protested. Watch us, Minseo said. Lifting a small reptilian worker onto her back, the humans carried the aliens. It was awkward and dangerous. But they moved. Muscles burning, lungs heaving, bodies pushed beyond their normal limits. But humans were good at exceeding limits. They reached the shuttle with 8 minutes of oxygen remaining. Everyone piled inside. The shuttle detached and pulled away just as a final collapse destroyed the docking port behind them. Inside the shuttle, everyone was silent. The aliens stared at the humans. The humans looked exhausted. Jihai's leg was still bleeding. Hyunwoo looked half-conscious. Sungwoo's breathing was ragged. They were battered, tired, and injured, but they had succeeded. Back at the station, the medical bay was chaos. The human rescuers were treated for multiple injuries. Lacerations, contusions, fractures. oxygen deprivation, chemical burns from toxic gas exposure. Dr. Hyo-jun worked alongside alien medical staff, explaining human treatment protocols. Yes, she has a fractured tibia, but it will heal. No, you don't need to amputate. Yes, I know it looks bad. Ji-hai got surgery to repair her leg. The alien doctors were amazed at how fast human tissue accepted the surgical repairs. Hyun-woo had a mild brain bleed, but the nanites stopped it. His concussion would heal in a few weeks. Within 3 days, most of the humans were cleared for light duty. Within 2 weeks, they were fully healed and back to normal work. The Concordance Council called an emergency meeting. Counselor Vess appeared via hologram. Her gaseous form swirled with agitation. We watched the entire rescue. We saw what humans can do under pressure. This changes our understanding of your species significantly. We just did what needed to be done, Taemin said simply. No. You did what was impossible. You entered an environment that should have killed you. You performed physical feats that exceed your normal capabilities. You ignored injuries that would incapacitate most species. You refused to accept failure. That's kind of our thing, Young-ho said with a tired smile. Vess continued. We invited humanity into the Concordance 50 years ago because you showed technological skill and diplomatic wisdom. We did not realize we were inviting survivors. True survivors. Species who refuse to die even when death seems certain. Overseer Com spoke up. The Concordance was built on cooperation among fragile species. We allied because individually we are weak, together we are strong. But humans are different. You don't need us to survive. But we want you, Bora said quietly. Surviving alone is lonely. We'd rather survive together. There was a long silence. Finally, Counselor Vess spoke. The Council has made a decision. Humanity will remain in the Concordance, but we are creating a new biological classification for your species. Persistence class survivability. A new category for species whose primary trait is refusing to quit. That sounds about right, Taemin agreed. We are also updating our emergency protocols, Vess added. Human biology will be properly documented and shared across all Concordance facilities. Emergency response teams will include human members when possible, and we will study your regenerative capabilities to improve medical treatment for other species. We're happy to help, Hyo-jun said. The council meeting ended. The humans returned to their quarters, exhausted but satisfied. In the medical bay, Vixtal was updating her research files. She had learned more about human biology in the past month than in the previous 50 years. And yet she suspected there was still more to learn. Dr. Taemin stopped by to check on her progress. How's the documentation going? He asked, slowly. Every time I think I understand human biology, I discover something new. That's humanity for you. Always surprising. Dr. Taemin, may I ask you something? Sure. Why do you keep going? Your bodies are constantly breaking down and rebuilding. You live short lives, burning through your cellular reserves. You face dangers that terrify other species. Why not just rest, stay safe? Taemin thought about it. Because resting feels like dying. Humans need to move forward. To explore, to grow. Maybe it's because we evolved running from predators.